There it is. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where we have the discussions that inform, entertain, and empower educators to be the change. I'm your host, Dr. Will, and this is my third show this evening. I'm doing this show today with Courtney. Is it Kofeldt?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. Hey, I try to get people's names right, because when people see my last name, it's not Jones. So I'm trying to get people's last names. Courtney, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're welcome. So, we're going to be talking about online learning in K-12 education, instructional design, and helping teachers new to that process. So for those who are watching the show, Courtney, will you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Kofeldt, and I am the Supervisor of Educational Technology at Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School, which is a K-12 online cyber charter school where about 80% of our students are fully online.
Awesome. So as you've just said, and I hope this doesn't show back in the playback because I am hearing a little something. So as you have said that you are the supervisor for educational technology at PA Leadership Charter School. What does your position entail and what drew you to the online learning environment?
So my position entails guiding, incorporating, and providing services related to instructional technology use, where I'm helping teachers transition into that online environment, like you said, and also providing our veteran teachers innovative ways where they can further enhance the online learning experience for our students. I also coordinate with our IT department just to make sure everyone is on the same page. So I'm kind of like that bridge between academics and our informational technology team. I monitor feedback from our teachers, our students, non-instructional staff, and parents, and take that to our tech steering committee, and we further develop our tools to meet all of our stakeholders' needs. I coordinate and help run professional development throughout the school year. So initially when we were on Moodle for about 10 years, and in 2015, we piloted Canvas with our 6th grade staff, and then moved full school in the 16-17 school year. So a lot of that initial training was just training, not professional development. We got deeper into that pedagogy as we became more familiar with the tool, and now we are really pushing innovative ways where we can assess our learners, engage, and empower them as well. And then just that troubleshooter as well. When there's a question about Canvas, all of the stakeholders kind of go to me to solve that issue.
So as we look at different learning models and school missions and various ways to deliver instruction, where does online learning come to play, and how does teaching and learning change when students can access the classroom from any internet-connected device?
So I think it really levels the playing field for all students, where it's really making that content accessible to all learners. So that student that can concentrate in class with the online environment, they're able to take it at their own speed, pause that content, rewind it, review, and that whole concept of universal design for learning, I think, is fully enhanced when you have that online environment for students. That's engaging a variety of learning styles, and not just having them fill out assessments. It's engaging their higher order thinking skills, because we have to do that in the online environment because the internet is accessible to them. They're at home, and we can't just be providing questions that they can Google.
Cool. So, for us, this is our, we're going to our 4th year in the one-to-one implementation, and at the other schools, we're going to our 3rd. And so I am at my third with the high school and going on. And one of the most difficult things that I've had to do is work with teachers in starting to teach online, because they were so used to everything is coming through me and I'm making all of these copies,
right.
But when you have that LMS and you are talking about blending your classroom, that's different from we're going to just put our kids in this program for 30, 40 minutes. Now we're talking about really actually designing instruction and delivering it. Mm-hmm. So how do you work with teachers in transitioning to teach online?
So you're absolutely right, where that initial idea is maybe just converting that worksheet to the online hand-in, where it makes it easier for the teacher. But really, I think online learning makes, and I have them think this way too, is shifting from being the expert. They don't have to be lecturing in front of that classroom. It's really about guiding the students and connecting what they're reading and forming those bigger pictures with the content that you're going over. Yes, we don't have the ability to see a student that's frustrated or confused visually, but by the questions you have them ask and you ask them, you can really see where their level of learning is at. So I think a lot of our professional development for new teachers is getting that content, making it clear, and also helping them create the correct questions in the online environment. I think that's a really big piece. I know there are so many tools out there, so we don't try to push all of them right away for new teachers. There are a handful where it's kind of the expectation that a new teacher knows by the end of their first year, and that kind of eases that overwhelmingness for new teachers, because even veteran teachers are overwhelmed with the amount of Web 2.0 tools that are out there. So we kind of provide that initial training on some media tools that they can utilize, some student creation tools that they can really have students design new products. But like I said, that form of questioning is a really big piece that we go over, and creating innovative ways where students can show their knowledge. And that's a big piece with new teachers.
And it's interesting that you brought that up with the scaling back on tools, because our first couple of years, and we started out, and we've always done this year after year, is having a boot camp in the summer, in which we invite new teachers. And as we progressed, we started to have a separate session for veteran teachers. But when we started that thing, we were like, pew, 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 pew. We're just shooting all kind of tools, like everything we liked that we thought was hot and sexy was like, here.
Yes.
But then as we started to work with teachers during the school year, we learned like, okay, now people are getting overwhelmed by this. And then they're feeling the expectation to use everything. And so we modified that boot camp to say, okay, the first 3 days, we're going to focus on blended learning. We're going to focus on the mental shift in what does it mean to now teach in a digital environment. We're going to focus on TPAC and SAMR. And now when we come out with the tools, we're going to bring our essentials in: Schoology, our LMS, Google, because we're a Google Apps district, Nearpod, we pay for that as well. And then we start to have conversations with teachers of saying, okay, this is not about you throwing everything out the first week of school. Mm-hmm. This is about you finding your why, discovering your why, finding a rhythm for what you want to do. And then from there, let's coach you up throughout the school year to kind of add what needs to be added and take away what needs to be taken away. So it's interesting that you actually brought that up. And so now I want to hit you with, what is the learning curve, right? Because you say you use Canvas, which, how can I say this? There's a lot of people, they love that Google Classroom. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any money and that's all you got, Google Classroom will serve you, but it's not robust at all. I mean, it's an hors d'oeuvre. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get fed by that bad boy. And so, you know, when you are talking about bringing in a learning management system, which is far more robust, whether you're talking about Schoology or Canvas, and I am going to ask you about Canvas. But what have you seen as a learning curve for teachers in learning how to teach with an LMS and learning how to design and deliver instruction? And what would you say are the skills that teachers need to be most effective in becoming an instructional designer?
I would say the learning curve, initially, those teachers may just want to have like a text-based lesson where you're going through all the material on one page. It's kind of the scroll of death initially, but we really focused on training our teachers where instead of having that vertical navigation, they want to kind of look at a lesson with a horizontal picture in mind, where a student can almost read it like a book, going through each step of the learning focused model, where you have your activating strategy. That could be your hook, an engaging video that you created to get your face out there, connecting with the topic, have a discussion there, to get your students chatting about that new topic, and then going into your direct instruction with tools like Nearpod on your next page, having that formative assessment so you can check the pulse of your learners. And then finally, your assessment piece to make sure that they fully grasp that, and providing choices there. I would say once we kind of show exemplary lessons in a best practice course for our teachers, once they see those and see, oh, this is how it can be done online. That's what I did. Maybe they came from the classroom. That's what I did in the classroom, and this is how it's done online, that hook. So you have that discussion where you would have it face-to-face and have that collaborative debate. It's easily done online with the use of forums or something like Padlet, where you can get all the topics out there. So I think providing those examples really brings everyone up to speed. And then, like we mentioned before, kind of saying these are the tools that you can have in your arsenal right away. And everyone becomes familiar with that initial set of tools. We kind of build a baseline of knowledge, and I think we get to where we need to go. Now, when it comes to the skills where you need to be effective with an instructional designer online, it's really putting yourself in the shoes of the learner. In Canvas, there's something called the student view, and I constantly remind teachers to use that view to really see what it's like to be a student in your own course. Is this topic making sense? Are you getting a lot of submissions that really aren't connecting with what you're trying to have them understand? So really connecting with the content, connecting with your students on an emotional level, even if it like in our online environment, really showing your passion in the topic. So yeah, you're not standing in front of the room and showing that on your face, but really create engaging videos where they can tell you're excited because it gets them excited as well. And then letting loose of some of your reins, letting your students create some of those topics. I think knowing that your students can be subject matter experts as well, and kind of taking a step back sometimes. I think that's a really big skill, and really effective in instructional design.
Okay, so speaking of the learning management system, you are using Canvas, as you have mentioned. How is Canvas being used to create engaging and dynamic learning experiences for students?
So our teachers are creating learning modules every day, which it's like that lesson package I was talking about, where they're posting all of their materials for their students. It flows in a linear way, and we can use prerequisites and requirements to ensure that they're going through that scope and sequence in the appropriate order. With Canvas, we have also been able to enable so many LTIs, which make that online experience seamless for our online learners. Instead of logging in to multiple programs, they're able to do it right in our one system. And it seems like all one tool, where really our students don't have to know that we're utilizing 6 different tools in this lesson. It's almost better that they think it's just one with these, it's multifaceted. So I think that has been a huge win for us with the change to Canvas, how many applications are connected with Canvas. And the ability to create like personalized learning paths, a mastery paths for our learners, where if they're really engaging with a topic and understand it a little bit more, they can kind of jump to that next topic with mastery paths, or explore it down a different path. So I think the differentiation that's available in online learning it's really enhanced with Canvas.
Okay. So now I want to throw this out there to you in terms of the mental shift that teachers have to work with and the coaching that you have to do. You know, it's one thing for teachers to have the skill, and another thing for them to have the will. And even though a teacher can be hired knowing their job description says you will be teaching via Canvas, just like they sign a contract knowing they're coming in here, they're going to get a Chromebook cart, and we have Schoology. The reality of getting there, especially if I'm not a new teacher, and, you know, I'm being introduced to this for the very first time in my career, but I've been teaching 5, 10, 15 years. Man, I got buckets of paper stuff. I've been teaching a certain way. I'm cold. You know, I'm ice cold in what I've been doing. But now, mentally, it's like, what is my role here? What am I going to do? I had a teacher approach me in the mall once asking me, were we trying to replace her with Schoology? And I was like, hey, no, just a tool, just like anything else. Mm-hmm. But, you know, talk to me about those conversations you have with teachers about that mental shift for those who are like, hey, what is this? I don't know. I don't know if I can do it, or it takes too much time for me to do it.
So being in online school, our teachers really don't have an option to not use Canvas, but I can relate to that discussion when we made that shift from Moodle to Canvas. Many teachers had all their content from years and years and years in that online instance of Moodle that we had. And many of them were in the mindset, well, it's not broken. Why change it? The lessons still work. Why are we making this change? What is the benefit? And it is showing them it's not about what is going to take the least amount of time for you. I know that's something that's precious to every teacher, time. I emphasize to them, really, you have all of those old lessons, but it's like carrying a heavy backpack with you each year, where they're out of date. Many of them aren't functioning anymore, and the topics really are looked in a different light at this point. And showing them what our students need, and creating an educational experience in our online environment that is really conducive to all of our learners' needs. We also have instructional coaches at each of our divisions. So we are K-12, so we have an elementary coach, we have a middle school coach, and a high school coach. They're not evaluating teachers, but they are going through their lessons and providing them that coaching framework where they conference. They may ask for extra assistance with me with specific technology, but knowing that they're not alone, our teachers, and that they have these coaches, they have me, they have peer partners that they can go to, and it's for our students that they need to be up to speed with our tools. I think knowing that you have a team to back you up is really important.
Okay. So how do you ensure that, and I don't want to say quality control because this isn't Big Mac, this is not Walmart, you know what I'm saying, McDonald's, and, we're not saying a Big Mac in Minnesota needs to look the same way as a Big Mac in Houston. But how do you ensure that teachers, one, aren't just digitizing worksheets, and two, that the same type of quality exists from teacher to teacher?
So there isn't a check that you can just do with pulling all of the lessons at once. It would be impossible. So granted, there may be a lesson here and there where a teacher is doing that, but they're fully aware that they're being evaluated by our leadership team. We also have the instructional coaches that are providing them that peer feedback. But more importantly, we make sure that their professional development is modeling those strategies so they know what it is like to be a student in Canvas and go through material in a way that's engaging. I think modeling is really important, especially when you're explaining a concept that is new. How is that going to look in the online environment? So we really stress putting a lot of the majority of our professional development has a piece that's in Canvas, so they know how can I do this? How is it done? With the quality control, it's knowing that they are being evaluated on the work that they're creating in Canvas, and it's that expectation. The best practices. You're aware of where you should be at, and we have the resources like the instructional coaches, where if you need that extra help, it is available to you.
Okay, so now I want to throw this out there to you, because we are on Twitter. And being that we're all on Twitter and we go to ISTE and all of these conferences, we continuously are coming in contact with a lot of different tools. We're learning all of these things. When you come across something, how do you vet it to say, wow, this is going to work for my school or for a couple of teachers that I know, versus you just saying, no. Mm-hmm. So what is your process for really deciding I'm going to bring this to my school or my teachers or not?
Mm-hmm. So with these tools, I am always researching new things. And I know we already talked about how there are so many out there, but you need to evolve with the tools. You need to keep on researching. So I do find it very important to attend these conferences, to stay connected on Twitter. I will use a tool and vet it with our technology steering committee, and use it personally before I introduce it to a teacher, because I don't want to steer them in a wrong way. And I know that they'll embrace it more if they know it's been used and it's effective online. So I'll use it in the professional development first and then introduce it to the school. With that too, we have our instructional coaches, but also an ed tech team where they're kind of the front line of teachers. So maybe we'll pilot a program as well, or a tool, and have it very small scale and see how effective it is. Look at that data. And then if it is a tool that there is a fee to it, because so many of these tools are kind of freemium where you can kind of try it out, see if it's worth it, and then invest in it. So I really believe in trying to get that free trial, see the data privacy first too. That's extremely important, especially in our world today, making sure your students are protected online. And so it is definitely a lot of steps, but the most important and overarching umbrella that falls in. It's what problem is this tool going to solve? How is it going to make it a better learning experience for our students? And then going from there.
Cool. So now I want to throw this out there to you, and I'm glad I told you on Twitter. I said, hey, there's going to be some stuff I'm going to throw out there at you. We have been designing PD on Schoology as well. And, some teachers have taken advantage of it and others haven't, and actually prefer us to do certain things with them face to face. Now, admittingly, I don't know much about your school. Now, I don't know if your teachers never show up to a building at all and everything they do is from home, or do they come to school, kids are in the classroom, but everything they do is via a Canvas. And you've mentioned how you do roll out PD via Canvas. So how is that PD structured, and how have you been able to, garner buy-in from your teachers?
So there are mandatory PD sessions in Canvas. So if they're not meeting those hours, it is approached to them, and it needs to be completed. So we kind of structured it initially with like flip days where they could work on these in the summer, and then during the year, like for example today, Columbus Day, they could just have off where they did those PD hours over the summer. If they didn't complete it, they would need to go into our building at work and complete that course during that time. I know it's kind of slapping them on the wrist, but sometimes you need to hold teachers accountable to get through the materials, because in the end it's to help our students, and they need to know those skills. They're essential skills. It's not just busy work, professional development. Something that we do is Tech Tuesdays, and with that, I use Zoom to hold a live session with materials in Canvas, so they don't necessarily have to attend that live session in Zoom, but they have to submit their work in Canvas and show their evidence there with Tech Tuesday. And that's something we're going to roll out with parents and students as well, having them run some sessions and making more of a network with our school community with technology. But I feel like there's no definite way where you can ensure that they're taking the time through the material. But we also like to provide choices with that. So maybe they don't want to learn about G Suite for education, and they want to explore another tool, providing them different options where they can explore their passions and their needs. So I think that's when teachers don't want to complete professional development. It's not meeting their needs. So providing them those choices, they're more likely wanting to engage with that content in Canvas.
Awesome. So before we go, what is your advice for K-12 schools who are thinking about offering a distance learning program, or for financial reasons? They may be saying, hey, we can no longer afford to do this thing brick and mortar style, and we have to go completely virtual. What should they be thinking? What should they be planning? Mm-hmm. How should they think about online instruction, delivery, assessment? What should they do to make sure that whatever they decide will be done in the best way, and in the best way for students?
Mm-hmm. So I think that initial temptation may be for schools that are initially looking to go online to purchase like a canned curriculum. And I will say, although that may save a lot of time and maybe cut down on the amount of staff that's needed, you're not going to see good results with that canned curriculum. I know there has been some success stories, but overall, making that relationship with students is so important, and you're not going to get that with canned curriculum. it comes with teachers designing the content, getting passionate about it, and creating those online materials and lessons that you're going to see success in the long run. So it's not a flick of a switch that you can switch online. It is a process. So you kind of need to do it in waves almost, maybe have that initial pilot, see how some of your staff is utilizing it, and make those personal connections with maybe have several staff using one LMS and pilot it with another set of staff, because I won't say there's one LMS that's perfect. There isn't. Each school has their different needs. Canvas met our needs. So I think finding an LMS that meets your needs, and maybe that initial, if the money isn't there, Google Classroom is a good option, like you said. And then really providing training, because your staff's not going to know how to teach online automatically. Yes, they have a skill set with technology, but having full lessons online is completely different. And I will say I started my teaching career at my school in an online environment, and my pre-service teaching experience in my college courses didn't prepare me for what I was going to experience in an online environment. But giving me time to explore tools, giving me the proper training, I was comfortable and I got passionate about online education. And you'll see that fire lit within your teachers if you give them appropriate training, and not expect a full course ready in a day, because that's not going to happen. It's going to be that transition, and don't give up on it. It's going to be a process.
Oh yes, yes. Because we're still working with teachers, now, and we've had our training, but not all teachers went to our boot camp, and I kind of sat back. And I didn't put any pressure on teachers. I didn't really talk about certain expectations until I started to go in their classes. And I started to look at how courses were being designed. And I said, okay, Houston, we have a problem. And when an administrator approached me about it and said, okay, can you work with teachers doing this? That's when I started to go in and say, okay, teachers, we need instruction that works as though you are not in the room. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I need that introduction. I need that hook. I need that direct instruction, that independent practice. I need that exit ticket. I need all of these things to flow in a certain way, so that for that student who's at the alternative school, or that student who's homebound, or that student who is going to be home maybe a week or two for some sort of illness, can actually receive quality instruction, and not to sort of log into Miss Johnson's class and be like, oh, bell ringer, 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 and nothing else. So, that's when we kind of talked about, okay, now, so let's do this, and what do you want to do? And let me work with you, and set up a meeting with me so we can kind of get this thing, right. But yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. Not for most. I mean, some are going to be like, I'm with this, let's do this. And then you're going to have those who you're just going to drag them down the street, pulling, because they don't want to do it. But that's it. Thank you, Courtney, for being a guest on the show. It was awesome. It took us a while too, Courtney.
Yes, it did. But it was so much fun talking to you. I'm so happy we got on schedule and worked it out.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And I want to have you back on the show, because when you told me this was your first teaching gig, I was like, what? Well, that's fascinating to me, because we are now living in an era where there are going to be teachers such as yourself who they're going to graduate from a traditional program. Mm-hmm. And you schools of education, y'all are getting very sorry, because you are training teachers to teach like they did in the 1970s, and we don't have a lot of schools like that anymore. And so for you to graduate, and then this is your first teaching job. This is online. Like, this is all you really know professionally. I'm like, I am so fascinated by that. I want you back to hear your story, because that is amazing. And I know other people are experiencing this and will continue to experience this. I know my district is brick and mortar right now, and we blend our learning. We do have a distance learning, but who knows? 5 years, 10 years from now, our district can say, hey, we're going fully online, people. You don't know what's going to happen. And that's one of the reasons when I work with teachers, I say, it's time to be transformative. You know what I'm saying? Change your mindset, change your understanding of what teaching is in this digital age, because, you know, no one thought Blockbuster would ever go away. Right? I'm 43. Friday night was it. It was a Blockbuster night. You went to go get it, and Blockbuster gone because of technology. So, again, thank you for being a guest on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I love pre-service teachers. That is definitely a passion of mine, how we can change that program to make it more transformative at those initial years when they're going through the trainings, and better prepare them. So I would love to explore that topic with you more.
Awesome. Just let me know when. People, as always, you know how I do this. This is going up. The video is going up on YouTube. Audio, SoundCloud, iTunes. Your boy's on iTunes. Hey, subscribe. Leave me some reviews, people. I'm trying to grow out here. I'm putting this on LinkedIn. Of course, this is going on Twitter, and all this is going on. I'm gonna create a blog post as well. So, people, as always, invest in you, EDU. Peace.